welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be doing a voiceover of my COVID writing transformation because even though I'd been writing, or I had Benzi for 2 years, he was always a pill for me. He would bolt with me and buck with me, and so I was nervous to ride for a long time. And so right before COVID started, I was struggling a lot with him, and I was kind of starting to give up hope on riding, and we even considered selling him for a little bit. But luckily, since lockdown happened, I was forced to ride him every day. And since it's almost been a year for us in the US, I figured I'd just go back and look through how much has changed. Also, in some of these clips, I'm pre-transition. So for some of you that don't know and haven't watched my Q&A video, I am trans, and I transitioned in May of last year, and obviously our lockdown started in March. So some of these clips are you might not be able to recognize me that much. But yeah, let's go. Alright, so these next couple of clips were in March of 2020 when lockdown started, like I said. Looking back, my writing isn't that bad, but my legs were swinging all over the place and I could hardly keep myself up, and my hands were lost, and I could hardly do a flying lead change, which Benzi's awesome at now. I was actually genuinely scared to canter poles on him. You can't see it in these videos, but this was one every 4 lessons he'd actually be nice like this for me. And I think part of it was due to my writing, because it was really bad. Also, Benzi doesn't like to get over on the rail, and so I was really bad about neck reining, and my hands would just completely fly out the side. I was struggling a lot, not with writing, just mentally, and he was always there for me. And so at the time, it was such a big deal to have him, and now looking back, I could never thank him enough for how much he's done for me. Even if he hasn't always been amazing when I ride him and we haven't shown the most or jumped the most, he was always something consistent in my life. So this is when I started to get really anxious to ride. Every time I'd come up and get on, and I'd have a good ride, and then I'd go to jump and I would get so nervous, and I'd look down, and obviously if you give them the chance, they're gonna refuse. And so this started a chain of refusing that lasted through at least 2 months. Okay, so this was my first time jumping 2 feet. I had been begging my trainer for 2 months. Okay, so this was my second show ever, and first of the year. We just did cross rails, as you can see, but I did not 2-point. It was really bad. I just kind of stand straight up and fixate my hands in one area, and he'd just jump underneath me, and I'd kind of yank on his face. It was really bad in retrospect, but yeah, we ended up getting good placings, and I think we won a flat class and got all first, seconds, and thirds, and a fourth. So that was really good for my second show experience. Okay, so this clip was us like preparing for like the next show when we planned to do 2 feet. And so this was my first time like coursing 2 feet, and obviously there was like some really bad striding, but I couldn't have cared less. I was so overjoyed to be doing 2 feet after it had been a dream for so long for me.
Love is an incredible thing, and we don't know love like we should. We always talk about I have unconditional love.
Alright, so this was our first like 2-foot show ever. I ended up not placing at all in both of my classes because he was like wild that day in the flat, which I mean we still ended up getting 5th and 6th, which is not bad, but he was wild in the flat, and so I lunged him again, and this was before I was starting to wear spurs, and I could not get him off my leg for the life of me, and so we ended up trotting half the jumps, which he was a saint and actually went over them, but that got us like kind of kicked out of the class. I just needed to like include this Benzi moment because it's like the only one that we have on camera, and I thought it was hilarious. Alright, so this was like a month or 2 later, and this was our second 2-foot showing ever, and we ended up also placing pretty well in this class, which was super exciting because it was out of like 12 people, and like I ended up like 4th and 5th, but that's still really good for like my second time only showing 2 feet. Okay, so after that show, everything kind of just started to come together and get a lot better, especially like my hand and my leg, and I became like quite a bit more confident. Okay, so this was like the last show of the season, and it was like also still a schooling show, but it was at one of the bigger horse parks nearby, and we ended up not placing at all in this class because he ended up refusing, like just outright refusing at one of the jumps, and you won't be able to see, but I took him around and tried to get him over it like a couple more times, but he just wouldn't budge, and I wasn't looking to try and kick him over it. And so, I mean, at least the photos came out nice. Okay, so after we got home from this show, we realized that whenever we were jumping, he started to get very like low and downhill over the jumps to the point where it kind of became dangerous. You can't really like tell in these clips, but we ended up just giving him a month or 2 off, basically off of jumping, where we just did flat work and poles, which actually really helped us both in the long run. And then we fast forward to this last week. A lot has changed since the start of quarantine. I can't express how proud I am of like both of us and like how far we've come in such a short amount of time. Thank you for watching. It was really nice to like look back through like how far we've come, because even if there haven't been super significant changes, there's definitely some notable changes. And I feel like really proud looking back there, especially with how far we've come even in the last like couple months since our last show. Alright, thank you for watching. Bye.